The terrifying last minutes of hunter Mark Uptain. There's a moment in nature when everything goes quiet. Birds stop singing, the wind stills, and the air feels heavy. For experienced hunters, that silence can mean one of two things. Either the prey is near, or something far more dangerous is about to emerge from the shadows. What if that silence becomes your final warning? Imagine being deep in the wilderness, miles away from any help, standing over the body of a freshly harvested elk. You're cleaning the kill, the sun is warm on your back, and you're surrounded by forest beauty. And then, it happens. A thunder of claws, fur, and death barrels toward you at full speed. You have seconds, maybe less, to react. This is the story of professional hunting guide Mark Uptain. His final moments, surrounded by the brutal chaos of nature, reveal not only a man's terrifying death, but also a critical lesson for every outdoor adventurer. Welcome to Nature's Last Call, the channel where the planet's wildest mysteries meet hard science and urgent truth. In today's episode, we dive into the chilling final minutes of hunter Mark Uptain, a case that shook even the most experienced survivalists and wildlife experts. But before we dive in, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss out on our upcoming videos. Now, let's get started. The perfect hunt turned nightmare. It was a warm day, minus 73 degrees, and clear skies in Wyoming's Grizzly wilderness. Mark Uptain, a skilled hunting guide with years of experience, was leading his client Corey Chubin, a crossbow hunter from Florida. Their mission had gone well. The elk had been successfully downed, and they were in the process of field dressing the kill. Mark, like many guides, had done this countless times. Confident, calm, and methodical. But this time, something was off, though no one knew it yet. As he worked on the elk, Mark had removed his shirt and his Glock 10mm handgun, setting it a few yards uphill to keep it out of the blood. His bear spray was clipped to his hip. Chubin had a bear spray canister too, but left it in his pack due to its bulk during horseback travel. That decision would prove devastating, the first sign of death. As Mark focused on removing the bull's head for a trophy, Chubin stood nearby. Then, out of nowhere, came the unmistakable sound of rocks tumbling, a sound that seasoned outdoorsmen know can mean only one thing. Something big was moving fast. According to Chubin, he looked up and saw them. Two grizzly bears, charging downhill at full speed. One was an adult sow, the other, a cub. Mark's instincts kicked in. He raised his arms and shouted, a common tactic to try and scare off a bear. But it didn't work. In seconds, the sow was on him, biting, clawing, and mauling. Chubin froze, but only for a moment. A struggle against the impossible. Chubin's first reaction was instinctive. Retrieve Mark's Glock. The handgun lay just a few feet uphill on the grassy slope, nestled near the gear pile where Mark had dropped it while field dressing the elk. Time slowed as adrenaline surged through Chubin's veins. He scrambled up the incline, hands shaking, eyes darting between the firearm and the chaos unfolding below. But as he reached for the pistol, a chilling realization struck him. He didn't know how to chamber a round. In his panic, he fumbled with the unfamiliar weapon. The Glock's slide, stiff and foreign, wouldn't budge under his trembling grip. The safety mechanism confused him. The mechanics a mystery in this high-stakes moment. Precious seconds slipped away. Below him, the scene was nightmarish. The sow, a massive, raging adult grizzly, was on top of Mark Uptain, teeth flashing, claws raking. The sounds were unbearable. Mark's yells, the bear's growls, the sickening crunch of contact. Chubin stood frozen with the gun in hand, fear overtaking logic. Every fiber of his being screamed to act, but another paralyzing thought took hold. What if I shoot Mark? Terrified of hitting his guide in the chaos, Chubin hesitated. He couldn't bring himself to pull the trigger. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, the bear shifted her focus. Her blood-soaked face turned toward Chubin, eyes locked. He panicked. In a last desperate move, he tried to toss the Glock down to Mark, hoping he could use it, hoping it might save him. But the throw was short. The gun landed uselessly on the dirt, out of reach. And then came the final blow to any hope of defense. In his frantic struggle to figure out the weapon, Chuban had unknowingly ejected the magazine, an entire clip of 15 powerful 10mm full metal jacketed rounds, now lying somewhere nearby in the grass. The Glock, without its magazine, was reduced to a single-shot firearm. Assuming there was even a round in the chamber, it was nearly useless. The bear was already closing in. Chuban, now unarmed and helpless, could only watch as the grizzly descended upon him. The desperate escape. The bear lunged at Chuban, biting into his right boot and dragging him for a few feet. He was injured but somehow managed to escape. With no weapon, no support, and no time, Chuban ran. He didn't look back. As he fled, his final image of Mark was that of a man still on his feet, still fighting. But the official report tells a darker story. According to the Teton County Sheriff's Office, Mark was already being dragged and torn apart, screaming in agony, as Chuban made his escape. Chuban reached their horses and fled on horseback up the mountain. It was around 4:30 p.m. A haunting silence. Chuban later told officials that once he reached higher ground, the wind picked up. He could no longer hear any yells or gunshots from the area he had fled. He found a cell signal and called 911, reporting that he believed his guide was dead. Authorities launched a helicopter sweep, but as the sun faded behind the Tetons, there was no sign of Mark. They found his body the next day. The post-mortem report was horrifying. Mark had suffered 38 puncture wounds and 14 ripping or tearing wounds. Both his upper thighs were mauled, leading to massive blood loss. His scalp had been peeled back from forehead to neck, exposing bone. A crushing wound had smashed part of his forehead. Yet his skull remained intact, as if nature had cruelly prolonged his suffering. Investigators concluded that Mark had used his bear spray to fend off the initial attack and had somehow managed to move away under his own power before collapsing and dying from blood loss. His death was not instant, but agonizingly slow. A man of grit. Those who knew Mark Uptain described him as calm, dedicated, and deeply in tune with the wilderness. He wasn't reckless. He wasn't inexperienced. He was a father, a husband, and a protector. That's what makes this story all the more terrifying. If a man like Mark could fall victim to a sudden, violent attack, despite carrying bear spray, a firearm, and knowing the land, what chance do the rest of us really have when the wild turns against us? The debate that followed. Mark's death sparked a firestorm of debate in the hunting and outdoors community. Should Chuban have acted differently? Could Mark have survived with his handgun in hand? Was the bear spray ineffective? Wyoming Fish and Game defended the bear spray's role, stating it likely saved Chuban's life. Critics, however, argued that relying on spray instead of a loaded and ready firearm was a mistake in bear country. Some pointed fingers at Chuban, suggesting he should never have gone out with limited firearm knowledge. Others sympathized, understanding the sheer panic of a grizzly encounter. But one thing was certain: Mark Uptain was a hero who paid the ultimate price. Mark's death wasn't in vain. It has inspired reforms in hunting safety, more rigorous client training, and a deeper respect for the forces of nature. A legacy etched in blood and courage. Mark Uptain's name will not be forgotten. In those last horrifying minutes, he did everything he could to protect his client and fight for his life. He didn't panic. He stood his ground. And that, in the face of one of the most feared predators on Earth, is the truest definition of bravery. Nature doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care how experienced, prepared, or strong you might be. But stories like Mark's remind us why we must always respect it, prepare for it, and never let our guard down. Because sometimes, in the last minutes of daylight, when the trees whisper and the rocks tumble, death comes silently on four legs. Thank you for watching Nature's Last Call. If you found this story as chilling and powerful as we did, hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life encounters that remind us of nature's raw power. Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and never forget, nature always has the final call.